This week on the bonus round, we're at the 2015 Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. And I asked the panel, has the next generation truly begun? I'm with Kotaku's Stephen Totilo, GameSpot's Danny O'Dwyer, and Greg Miller from Kinda Funny Games. Hello and welcome back to the bonus round. I'm Jeff Keighley, and we are wrapping up our GDC conversation with Stephen, Danny, and Greg Miller from Kinda Funny before you head over to your live Twitch.
Right?
Yeah. Every day.
Every day. Twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. Please come. Please.
I don't know how you do it. All right. Well, let's talk about the consoles, and we're talking a lot about games here, indie games, smaller games. Let's talk about some of the bigger games. So far in 2015, a couple big games have come out, but I think the question we're asking this week is, has the next generation really begun? And is there sort of that game of the generation that has started to come out? We're now in year 2 fully of these consoles that have come out. Is there anything that stands out to you guys as that game that sort of really shows off the true power of the next generation? I think everyone would agree that the leap between PS3 and Xbox 360 to the next gen was not as significant as the previous leap where you were going to high definition. But I mean, are there games that you guys have been playing lately that make you feel like, wow, it's like we really are in a new generation of gaming?
Not really. I don't think that it's horsepower anymore, though. I don't think it's power. I don't think it's
even
graphics.
experiences.
I think it's, but I think that this generation will be defined more by whoever really taps into the right kind of multiplayer, the right kind of online connected experience, or whatever they call it, or even the person or the studio that puts out the game that continues to have new material coming out for it and feels like it's alive for a long time. And these are things we've heard the companies have fantasized about for a while. They finally have consoles where you can do a lot of that seamless updating of games and
the connectivity, right? I think when we saw that first E3 where they were showing Watch Dogs and they're showing all this stuff, it seemed like that connecting players was really going to be next gen, right? And now here we are, and it's like, well, Dying Light has co-op tacked on, and then nothing ever works when it's launching, so I don't want to play online. And it's all these different things. Like, right now, I mean, like, it's not a horsepower debate. For me, the big thing, and because I'm a huge nerd, is that I love Helldivers, and I love that I can put Helldivers on PS4 and then take it on with the Vita and go that way. I want experiences like that. I love the fact that the games I love are with me at all times. But in terms of, like, the best game of the generation, what's that going to be? Is it going to come this year? Is Uncharted 4 really going to come out this year? Like, that's, what I mean? All eyes are on that, right? Oh, Naughty Dog, they're amazing. They'll be great. You know what I mean?
Or is it those type of games? Because, like, 2 years into the Xbox 360 cycle, we were talking about, like Gears of War, like that, those really rich single-player experiences that were also had co-op, but then also with multiplayer. Like, that's what we were looking at. But what I think now, and maybe it's not the best example, but a game like Destiny, which is not a game that's, it just comes out, everyone plays it in the first month, and then it goes on to, trade-in shelves. This is a game that they're going to keep building on top of.
A lot of people still, be engaged on that. People keep coming back. Constantly.
They're putting out expansion packs, within months of it coming out. I remember, like, the comparison people often make is World of Warcraft, and like Burning Crusade, I think was a full 2 years after that game came out. So this is a service that a game that was came out, and then they've been consistently building on top of it. So I think that is probably one of the most interesting aspects of this generation, because the weird thing about games now is that people don't play a lot of games now. People play one game a lot, like Dota or Minecraft. It's sort of, the game's changed a little bit.
Games as services, that's a big deal.
I hate that sentence so much.
Well, it's a good sentence because I said it.
And it's true. I mean, but you're right. You look at a lot of these games, like the Dotas and League of Legends, it's like, people don't necessarily talk about them in the same realm of like, oh, it's Uncharted or Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead or whatever. But I mean, those games have, and Stephen, you guys cover this all the time on the site, it's like a massive communities. And people don't think about it as like, when is the next, League of Legends expansion shipping? It's like, oh, there's just a new champion that just appeared.
And you literally do not buy a new console to play League of Legends. It's not on consoles, and interface-wise, I don't know that it would ever be on consoles.
Well, Steam Machine apparently is going to show us how we can play Dota on our TVs.
Great. Steam Machines really haven't come together in the last year, have they? So we'll see how that one goes. But Metal Gear Solid 4 was for me the first true PS3 defining game, and that took about a year and a half, if not longer than that, for it to come out. Metal Gear Solid 5, now announced for September 1st in the US. Maybe that'll be the thing that really feels like it pushes the PS4 and the Xbox One along and feels like a new generation. But I can't see it in terms of, if I'm only thinking about it, as I was saying before, in terms of graphics. And so something like Helldivers, and the idea that, well, yes, I can still play it on a PS3, so technically it's not so new gen. But I'm connected in this online battle with all the thousands or millions or whatever of other people playing the game at the same time. not necessarily a new idea,
Right.
but if it's better integrated, and if I feel like every time I'm playing, I'm doing something meaningful that an entire community of gamers is experiencing, that feels closer to where gaming is going than a lot of other things. I think the anxiety I have is the influence of the free-to-play design on a lot of the kind of games that I love. And you see like the Clash of Clans style of design impacting a lot of, the sort of wait or pay kind of thing, and it's just that's the stuff that I don't really like, and I'm worried is going to become the defining thing even on consoles.
I am so hungry for those big AAA experiences now. It's driving me crazy. Like last year, like Sunset Overdrive was a game that was like, okay, we're nearly there, and like Infamous Second Son was kind of not quite. Like what I really want is E3. Fallout 4. And
oh my God,
show us it on consoles. Rockstar, what are you doing? Is it Red Dead 2? Red Dead Redemption 2? Just like I want those big tentpole crazy experiences that like event games that everyone's playing the week they come out.
No, and I think, and that's what you said. Everyone I think hopes for E3 because the indie stuff is fantastic. There've been some solid, sort of B plus games so far, but it's like, what are going to be those games that you're going to literally say like this was the best game I played in the past 5 years? And we haven't had that yet. I mean, there was there was moments where it was sort of that era where you had Skyrim and you had Red Dead and things like that. I mean, in that sweet spot of the last generation. I don't think we're nearly there yet, but also there are fewer of those games, right? It's like like I remember last generation, like there was so much excitement around BioShock, right? And like what Ken was doing there, and like he sort of seems to be out of that game now. And it's like Rocksteady's doing Batman. Is that really going to be that? That's the next game to me that feels like it could be truly, big and epic.
And that was the one, right, when they announced it, I felt like you kind of got on the edge of your seat, like, wait, it's only coming to PS4 and Xbox. It's only coming to the next. Okay, now they're on it. Because even like Shadows of Mordor was great, but it's like, there's this watered down PS3 version too, if you want.
No, that was like last year we looked at like Game of the Year. It's like you could have, a bunch of games could have sort of been in that slot, whereas the previous year it's like, is it GTA or Last of Us? So it's like that was like a real debate.
Clear contenders.
It's been a weird generational transition as well, and I mean we get spoiled at the end of every gaming generation because the really great games, God of War comes out late in the PlayStation cycle, God of War 2 even later in the PlayStation 2 cycle, and it's an amazing game, and the PS3 is already out when God of War 2 comes out, right? And so we're playing like Grand Theft Auto 5, and it's pushing the Xbox 360 to the limit. And you're not going to get a game that pushes this hardware to the limit in any capacity for years to come still. And so we just got off of what's probably the sweet spot of creativity for any console generation. We're in the doldrums of the early part of the new machines, and it seems like a lot of publishers were hedging their bets, and so you had a lot of games that were going to come out on the new platforms and the old ones. I find it weirdly encouraging that Mad Max is no longer going to have a 360 and a PS3 version. Apologies to the many of you who don't have new-gen machines yet.
But you're holding us back. You're dead weight. We got to let you
go. But I'm sure the developers feel liberated that they can focus more on a newer-gen version and that they can just push the technology however it goes. And I think that's part of what the consoles need is to get untethered from that the previous gen and or just free themselves up to be more creative.
Yeah, Stephen's hit the nail on the head, and I also think like that transition being quite difficult. But then the other thing that happens is whenever these games come out that we are like willing to be massive breakthrough hits, the disappointment just makes it like that much harder. Like I think about the Order 1886. Like that was a game that we were all kind of like just. Okay, it looks like it's quite restrictive, but just be really great. And then when it's not, it just becomes, it compounds the disappointment. I think E3 this year is really going to show like where we're looking at for the next couple of years.
I hope so. I'm right. That's the opportunity I think to have those games because even if they're not shipping this year, it's like just show us like that sense. I feel like in previous years you'd see like a BioShock and it wouldn't come out for 3 years. You'd still be like, oh my god, like this is what I can't wait for. And right now, it's like there's not really that game. I think that's like 2 years out. That you're like, when is that going to come out? Because the cycles of sort of talking about these games have been less and less.
It's worth thinking about development studios. We talk so much about publishers and not about studios, and a lot of studios now have had their first crack at the new generation. So Sucker Punch, they got their feet wet on the PS4. They've made the first Infamous and DLC for it, and I feel like they probably now are very comfortable with the machine, and they can now be more creative with the next game that they make. Assassin's Creed Unity was a mess, technologically speaking, but that engine that Ubisoft made for it is clearly going to be the engine they continue to build upon with the future Assassin's Creeds. They can be more creative for this year's Assassin's Creed. Watch Dogs, underwhelming. But again, I think a foundation has been placed by Ubisoft Montreal, and they can do better in the future. Exactly.
It's just like Assassin's Creed too, right? Assassin's Creed, you play like, and then it was like, Assassin's Creed 2.
Maybe we'll get that with The Division. Maybe that'll be the sort of jump we see from, the Watch Dogs was quite underwhelming.
That's right. There are, and Rainbow Six. I mean, there's lots of stuff that Ubisoft has sort of talked about over the years, and it's like, will those games come out this year? What's going to be that game? It's going to be that hallmark of these new machines. But yeah, on the third-party side and even the first-party side, as we said, you know, will Halo 5 be that game? Will Uncharted 4 be that game? It's like, you know, and Nintendo's got Zelda. I mean, those are 3 blockbuster games this year that conceivably, you know, could be defining for all those platforms. And I don't think we've ever had a year before where to give 3, you know, sort of the top franchises for all 3 companies, conceivably all going head to head.
And I think with Zelda, when you mentioned that, like last year was a really great reminder of, you know, sometimes these things take time. The Wii U last year, it's a fantastic game to come in, and I'd finally picked one up, and there was just this suite of about, you know, half a dozen to 10 games that were absolutely essential must plays. So, you know, these things do take time. One of the encouraging things I think is that the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One have thankfully been actually selling well, so at least there is a base there when those great games get created.
No, and even there were some games last year, like I know you played Assassin's Creed Rogue, and like, so, you know, some of these old gen games you couldn't even play on the new systems. And like I think hopefully some of that's going to go in the Borderlands pre-sequel. It's like stuff that people want to play. That's now coming to the next gen, I think, soon. I don't know if that Assassin's Creed game will ever come out, but you know, for next gen. But it was a good game, right?
Yeah, it was very good, and it was not made by Ubisoft Montreal. Ubisoft Sofia, I think, was the main studio, and the fact that I guess a B studio could still create something that was so fun and also just massive, again, speaks to the fact that once the technology is there, the studios are able to be more creative, and so I want to see what the follow-on to Destiny is going to be, because Bungie's laid a foundation for themselves with what they've created with that game. They've taken their lumps because they've made some poor decisions, I think, in terms of how they've tweaked the game. But they can now do something, build upon that in, I think, wonderful ways. So as long as, you know, we get through the first couple of years here of the generation, you know, which is the price of being an early adopter. You pay a lot for the console, you play some rough-edged games. Eventually, when we get further in, it gets really good.
That's the cycle. You know, you talked about it earlier. Metal Gear, right? Metal Gear came around and changed. That was the same with PlayStation 2, right? Metal Gear Solid 2 was the one, and then the GTA 3. But those were games we had to wait for. My PS2 was a DVD player for the first like 9 months of its life.
This is the year.
Everybody get ready.
E3. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the bonus round. Thanks to Stephen, Danny, and Greg, and we will see you next time for more right here on GT.